This is Keep On Cooking, a podcast for people who love cookbooks and want to know more about the authors. It's also a great place to get a weekly dose of culinary inspiration to keep things pumping in the kitchen. So grab a cookbook and keep on cooking. I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and this one's for the dum-dums. That's right, we're covering Living Vegan for Dummies in this episode. It's the second edition that came out in 2023, and we have the author, Cadry Nelson of Cadry's Kitchen, joining me to chat through the book. But before we get to the interview, my darlings, what are some books that are up and coming? First up, Call Me Vegan, easy plant-based recipes for every craving by Hallie Burns. Easy, delicious, and creative plant-based snacks from viral TikTok sensation Hallie Burns, aka at Ballyherns, perfect for full-time vegans and plant-curious healthy eaters. Call Me Vegan offers even more essential, life-saving, and time-saving recipes for every occasion that you won't find anywhere else. Her snacks that smack chapter include rice paper bacon snack strips, kale puffs, crunchy mushroom crisps, and her spicy angry edamame. There are breakfast recipes like cinnamon sugar tortilla bowl and chunky cocoa banana stovetop granola. Of course, there are main dishes too, like lasagna roll-ups, mushroom pulled pork, and cheesy vegan mac. There are also basics like mixed berry chia jam, instant plant milk, and tofu cream cheese, along with tips for stocking your pantry and essential kitchen tools, making this the perfect book for plant-based lifestyle newcomers and longtime vegans who are searching for easy ways to be more adventurous in the kitchen. Call Me Vegan comes out March 25th and is available for pre-order now. We also have Big Veg Energy, plant-based, just got better. This just came out January 14th. It's by Christina Satoru. Christina is a chef, recipe writer, and content creator who creates plant-based food for people who love to eat. Inspired by the Mediterranean flavors of her Greek heritage, Christina's passion for food has made her determined to find creative and nutritious ways to make plant-based dishes as tasty as possible. Experience vegetables like never before with 100 simple, tasty, and nutritious recipes to be enjoyed by all, packed with flavor in every bite. These are hearty meals that showcase just how delicious plant-based food can be. With influences from Christina's Greek roots, expect nourishing, vibrant food, including spicy mushroom skewers with peanut lime sauce. Love me a peanut sauce of any kind. Yes, Christina. Sweet potatoes with tahini butter chickpeas, pulled leeks with pistachio cream, and peanut butter cherry jam, semi-Fredo. Christina shares tips for making sure your meals are packed with protein and nutrients, as well as being totally delicious. As I mentioned, this book is available now, came out on January 14th, and you can pick up a copy of Big Veg Energy, Plants Just Got Better, everywhere books are sold. Now, this is a new little segment. It's been around for a few episodes here, but I haven't named it. I've now officially named the puppy. We're calling this segment No Reason Not to Know Something. Shout out to our bestie, Justin Barnett. We'll be hanging out with him and we'll kind of have a question about something none of us know. And he'll say, well, no reason not to know something. And then one of us Google it and we figure it out. So this is No Reason Not to Know Something. So I had the question, we're doing Living Vegan for Dummies. When did the For Dummies series start? So, the For Dummies series began in 1991 with DOS for Dummies. That's Disk Operating System. That's DOS for Dummies, written by Dan Cookin and published by IDG Books. It aimed to simplify complex topics, starting with computers, by using plain language and humor to make learning approachable. That is my way of learning, friends. The success of DOS for Dummies in 1991 led to rapid expansion into other topics, with the series becoming a global phenomenon by the late 1990s. Today, there are over 2,500 titles covering everything from personal finance to ding, 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 vegan cooking. The For Dummies series has produced numerous bestsellers since its inception. Among the most popular are the top-selling titles Windows for Dummies, Personal Finance for Dummies, and Beekeeping for Dummies. I love that that was the third most popular, Beekeeping for Dummies. And there you have it. That is a closer look at For Dummies. I know I've owned a few in my lifetime. I had a Nikon camera for dummies. I know that Music Theory for Dummies I had. I'm sure there have been a few others that I've had as well. And now I have Living Vegan for Dummies by Cadry Nelson. Vegan diet, nutrition, and lifestyle demystified. Living Vegan for Dummies provides a practical look at veganism for those who have already embraced the lifestyle, or for anyone who is on the fence about trying it, or for those who want to understand the choices of the vegans in their midst. You'll learn what it means to be vegan and why this animal friendly diet is on the rise. Discover tasty vegan ingredients and easy recipes, money saving tips, advice for talking to people about veganism, and ideas for dealing with the skeptics. If you're ready to start transitioning to a vegan way of life, you'll love this book's simple action plan for making the switch and making it stick. With this friendly dummies guide, you've got answers to all of your questions. Learn what veganism is, how it's different from vegetarianism, and why people choose to go vegan. Decide whether veganism is for you and get pointers on cutting out animal products. Help friends and loved ones understand your dietary lifestyle choices and get ideas for vegan cooking, eating out, and being vegan on a budget. Living Vegan for Dummies is a valuable resource for anyone who practices or is considering veganism, as well as their friends and family who want to know more about the lifestyle. The author, Cadry Nelson, is the writer, photographer, and recipe creator at Cadry's Kitchen, where she shares vegan comfort food classics that come together in about 30 minutes. Since starting her website in 2009, she's developed hundreds of recipes, taken countless photos, and helped readers all over the globe prepare vegan dishes in their own kitchens. Cadry's work has been featured on NBC News, Mashable, Yahoo, BuzzFeed, Parade, Huffington Post, Veg News, and Vegan Food and Living. She makes regular appearances on local interest TV shows demonstrating how to prepare easy vegan recipes. She has spoken at VegFest and blogging conferences. Cadry has collaborated with a variety of brands to develop recipes that showcase their products. She has also worked with many tourism boards to promote vegan options in their cities. She delights in showing that tasty vegan fare can be found anywhere, even in the most unlikely of places. And here she is to share the stories behind the recipes in Living Vegan for Dummies. It's Cadry Nelson. With a passion to share mouthwatering recipes that are familiar, comforting, and delicious to the masses, it's the creator of Cadry's Kitchen. Please welcome to the podcast, Cadry Nelson. Thank you for being here, Cadry.
Hi, thank you for having me. What a treat.
Yes, I'm so thrilled you're here. And we're going to start with your icebreaker question. So, wild out of the box question here. If you were a DJ, what would your DJ name be and why?
All right. My DJ name would be DJ Cadry Beats and Eats.
Yeah.
What? So, like DJ Khaled also always has to scream his name, and I would do that. And then,
I love it. Do you want to give us a practice round here? Or were you not ready for that? Not prepared?
no, I'll do it.
Yeah, come on, come on.
DJ Cadry Beats and Eats.
I love it. That is very good. Very good. At first, I thought you were just going to say DJ Cadry, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to judge. That's great. But then you gave us a little bonus on there. It's good. Mine would be, this is wild, but DJ Woods, L, because I love Legally Blonde, and I thought, what a great way for me to finally work that name into my world.
Yeah.
I'm DJ Woods, L. So there we go. Sounds like we're off to a party already.
I think so.
Well, as I mentioned here, Cadry is the founder of the popular food blog Cadry's Kitchen, where you can find mouth-watering recipes that are appealing to the masses. She is also the author of Living Vegan for Dummies, second edition. I want to clarify here, there is a first edition that came out in 2009, and we are here to talk about Cadry's second edition that is more up-to-date and came out in 2023. But before we get into that, Cadry, I know you grew up eating the standard American diet, as did I. So when did cooking become prominent in your life, and when did it switch over to vegan for you?
Okay. Well, I always liked cooking, but when I was a kid, it was mostly like I have mastered ramen, or I make a really good salad.
Yep.
And then once I was out on my own, I moved to California, and all of a sudden I was like having to really figure out cooking for myself. And so I got a little more into it then, because there's only so far you can get on like 40-cent pot pies.
Sure.
And then you're like, I probably should have real food with vegetables and things. And so I started kind of dipping my toes in it. And then I got really interested in nutrition and reading a lot of books about that. And then that coincided with me seeing the video Meet Your Meat
Hmm.
online. And I'd
Hmm.
always been an animal lover, grew up an animal lover. And I'd have these inklings in the back of my mind like, I don't feel entirely comfortable with this. When I cook chicken, I'm going to pretend it's an interesting mushroom.
Hmm.
And then at some point, seeing like making the connection there and thinking, if I have to lie to myself about this, why am I doing this? And so I transitioned. Then first I was vegetarian for a couple of years, and then I went vegan. And again, like continued looking at cookbooks, reading more about both the ethical aspects of being vegan and the dietary aspects of being vegan. And then that was around like food blogging time, like when it was like
Hmm.
really hitting its popularity in 2009. And I thought, I want to share with other people what I'm learning and the cookbooks that I'm cooking from. And with that, I started making and testing and developing my own recipes as time went on.
Oh, that's great. So it sounds like maybe you got even more into cooking than after you got into being vegan. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely. And so there are so many foods that aren't like vegan specific, but that
Sure.
I didn't eat until I went vegan. Like I'd
Yep.
never tried collard greens. I'd never tried um, watercress. I'd done like so many
Sure.
uh,
Sure.
different types of lentils I'd eaten, but I'd never cooked with. And so just a
Yeah.
whole exploration of like, oh my gosh, this is a whole bunch of stuff that was always readily available and inexpensive, but I wasn't cooking with it.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of had the same I got more into cooking. That is when I got into cooking more, is when I went vegan. And for me, like my focus then was like I was learning more about new ingredients, but I was also like, well, how can I make the things that I loved? Like I want to make sure, and it was all like, you're saying you were on standard American diet, like it was all macaroni and cheese, pizza for me. So I was like, how do I recreate these? Now as like what, 12, 13, 14 years later, my diet has evolved and like more vegetables, like you're saying, getting all of
Right.
those things. And, but at the time I remember just being like getting so excited about cooking things in a different way,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that was true for me too. Like I grew up eating taco pizza, and I
Hmm.
didn't want to know a world where I wasn't eating taco pizza, but I had to figure out a new way to make taco pizza.
Yep.
And when I would hear about someone who was doing like a vegan fried chicken with mashed potatoes and gravy, I definitely wanted in on that and had
Yep.
to go try it and then figure out how to do it myself,
Yep.
because yeah, what we crave is texture and salt
Hmm.
and fat, and
Yep.
figuring out how do you translate that into plants.
And it's all still there. We can
It's
all still
also
have
there.
it. It's all still there. Well, when you first went vegan, so I ask every author that's on this because I'm always curious, and it's a cookbook podcast. So, what was the first vegan cookbook that you owned, or the first vegan cookbook you owned that really was like the one that resonated with you that maybe you went to again and again?
Um, I think the first one I owned was Veganomicon.
Okay. Yep.
And yeah, I cooked from that one a bunch. And
Yeah.
so I very much learned like, how do you make a tofu scramble? The stuff
Uh
that
huh.
now I would never need a recipe for at that
Right.
time. It was like, how do you cook with tempeh?
Yep.
Yeah, Veganomicon
Yep.
was not just a tofu press, but also a vegan Bible.
But it makes a great tofu
It
press.
makes a great tofu press.
That's for sure. Well, let's talk about Living Vegan for Dummies, which was, of course, released by Wiley Publishing. And is it Wiley or Willie?
Wiley.
Wiley. Wiley Publishing focuses on academic publishing and instructional materials, such as the collection of For Dummies books. Now, I know I've had a few of these in my lifetime: photography for dummies, music theory for dummies. So, Cadry, before you wrote this, had you been engaged with any other? Were you a dummy? Did you have books for dummies in other categories of your life?
I don't think I did. I know I
Okay.
had definitely leafed through them, but none stand out that I
Yeah.
had for sure had. But it's very much in like the zeitgeist. So you've definitely heard of the For Dummies books, and it's such a constant, like on late night shows, a
Yeah.
joke of like they have this for dummies, that for dummies. So
Yep.
I was
Yep.
definitely aware of them.
Of course. Yeah. Well, let's look closer at Living Vegan for Dummies. This book provides a practical look at veganism for those who have already embraced the lifestyle, or for those who already embraced the lifestyle, or anyone who is on the fence about trying it, or for those who want to understand the choices of of the vegans in their midst. You'll learn what it means to be vegan and why this animal-friendly diet is on the rise. Discover tasty vegan ingredients and easy recipes, money-saving tips, advice for talking to people about veganism, love that, and ideas for dealing with skeptics. So the book is broken into 7 sections that break everything about veganism down, starting with part 1, getting started with a vegan lifestyle, which features information on the basics of veganism and making a move towards a vegan diet. In part 2, we've got for the health of it all, with information on eating that beautiful rainbow of nutrients, getting essential nutrients on a vegan diet, the overall health benefits of a plant-based diet, and that age-old question: you help the reader pinpoint their protein needs. So how does this book go about explaining the protein to the reader?
Well, it explains that people often think of protein only existing in animal foods. And that is often when someone's like, oh my God, I've got to have my protein. Where do you get your protein? They just think about animal ingredients, but that cows also get their protein from somewhere, and they aren't eating animals. They are getting their nutrients from the ground, which is where nutrients come from. And so minerals come from. And so it's talking about all of the plant protein that exists in that world. And so there's nuts and seeds and legumes and seitan and tofu and tempeh. And so it's not, you don't have to just go to animal foods for that. There's a plentiful world of plant foods that have it.
Yes. So many great things to break down in that section when it comes to the health benefits. And part 3 is all about the day to day, titled Vegan at Home, with tips on grocery shopping, meal planning, making your favorite dishes vegan if they aren't yet, and enjoying holidays and get together. So when we're looking at that, what is a tip you would give a new vegan? This one's a big one. I mean, I asked the protein specifically in the health benefits one because like that's the question everyone always asks, right? But you're so
Right.
expansive in that section. You give a lot of information on health benefits. Now in this section, I'm really honing in on this holiday gathering, get together bit, because what is a tip you would give somebody? I mean, you give us several in here, but when you're navigating holidays, for example, that can always be tricky. What's something you would tell someone who's navigating holidays?
Well, I would say when you're going to a holiday dinner, to bring something that'll be a good main course for you, because otherwise you might be hungry, because a lot of you might find some side dishes that are vegan, but that main course, it could be trickier. So if like at Thanksgiving, I like to bring a pot pie, because if I bring a pot pie, everybody knows what a pot pie is. Nobody's like, what is this thing? Like, it's a pot
Ah,
pie, but it has vegetable. It's like, it's a complete meal. It has vegetables in it. It has protein. It has grains. It has like something toothsome. I don't feel like I'm missing out anything, but it
mm,
goes with a lot of holiday sides like mashed potatoes or a nice green salad or Brussels sprouts.
yes. Yeah, the holiday thing, and I will tell people too, I think that's great advice to bring a main, but also make sure you get the first serving of it, because what happens now that we've demystified veganism a little bit, or now that we've made it less intimidating for some people, now you show up and immediately everybody is drawn to your food instead of the stuff they're having every year. They're like, "Ooh, what did you bring?" And then
Right.
when you slice into that beautiful pot pie and it smells good and it looks like what they're used to it looking like, suddenly they're like, oh, well, maybe I'll have the pot pie too. But what really gets me here is that, at least in my family gatherings, they will get really excited about the vegan option, but then they'll also load up their plate with all the non-vegan options plus my vegan option. So I'm like,
Right.
no. I'm like, let's make some choices, because now you're just eating double, triple. That's not fair.
Right.
Where's my vegan goods here?
Yeah, when my husband, at one of his offices, they would always order a cheeseless pizza for the vegans. And then they ended up having to start hiding it in another room because first people mock the cheeseless pizza. And then they're like, oh, maybe I'll try a slice of the cheeseless pizza. And then they're like, wow, it's actually really tasty. You can taste all the toppings. And
Right.
then there are no pizzas left for the vegans.
Right. It's awful. It's terrible. Come
Yeah,
on, help the
I
vegans out
know.
here. So that's my side of that. Make sure you get yourself a nice plate of all the vegan goods first, and then open it up to everyone, because of course that's the idea, right? You do want to be able to share it and have somebody taste it and be like, "Oh my goodness, wow, that is amazing. I can't
Right,
believe that's vegan." That whole response, right? We love
right.
that. Well, four gets into the food. So this is where we're going to slow down a bit and really get into it, because that's what Keep on Cooking is all about, the food and the recipe of the matter. So let's take a closer look here at the recipes. First up, we have breakfast. So when we're looking at the breakfast recipes in here, we've got peanut butter banana smoothie, avocado toast with baked tofu, eggy tofu, grits breakfast bowl, veggie packed tofu scramble, blueberry banana oatmeal, and sheet pan potato hash. I mean, all stuff that looks very approachable, and all stuff that I like. These are regulars, in my home. I love stuff like this. So what's a regular for you in this list of recipes?
I eat eggy tofu almost every day,
Hmm.
and it is very like filling and satiating and easy, because you can either have it in slabs or you can have it in crumbles. And if you cook it in slabs, that's nice, like on its own or in a sandwich or on avocado toast. But if you have it in crumbles, that gets really great crispy texture all around it. So I've been kind of more
Hmm.
into that lately. And then the tofu is seasoned with nutritional yeast, granulated onion, kalanomic, which is black salt, the Indian eggy salt, and then pepper. So like super easy,
Easy.
but really tasty, very flavorful. Then I'll have it with avocado toast with maybe some like pickled onions, and that's my breakfast
Hmm.
most days. It takes 5 minutes, but every single day it sounds good, and then I'm full until lunchtime.
Yeah, and that Colonomic, everybody who's listening, if that's a new spice to you. So I get pushback on this sometimes where people are go, "Oh, but it's hard to source, it's hard to find." I'm like, one, order it online. Two, you get, even if you get a small bottle of it, it's going to go a long way, because
Right.
it's a potent spice, right? So, and that's how you're really getting that beautiful sulfuric egg flavor that's familiar to people. That's how everyone, listeners, you're going to get it in your scrambles, right? So I highly recommend it. I can't do a tofu scramble without it now.
No, I agree. And I live in middle of nowhere, Iowa, and they
Hmm.
have it at my local Indian grocery store.
There
So
you
you
go.
might have to go to grocery stores that aren't in your regular repertoire, but they might become in your regular repertoire after because it's like $2.
Yeah.
And
And that's the
that's
fun part,
great.
right? That's the
Yeah.
education of it. That's what a book is for. So you can like learn new things, maybe go to
Yeah.
a new store in town,
Right.
all
They
that good
have it on
stuff.
Amazon. And if you want to go that way, cool. But
Yeah.
they also have it locally for
Yeah.
many people.
Yeah, you can support locally if you're able. All right, so main courses is our next chapter here. So lots of great things in here: mushroom fajitas, cold peanut noodles, pineapple fried rice, classic vegan cheeseburger, barbecue, jackfruit, nachos. Everybody get into it. Ultimate homemade chili, which is just a classic to go to, especially in the fall. We're entering the fall months right now. Vegan chicken noodle soup. So someone just picks up this book today and they want to make a main course. What's the first one you're going to tell them to make out of here?
Mm. I think if you're going to make something new today, the chili is a good way to go.
Mhm.
It's going to feel very familiar, and it's all of the spices that you're used to. And that's really what does the heavy lifting with chili. It's like spice and texture.
Yes.
And so it has the stuff that you were used to in the taco seasoning packet, except they're, singled out. So you have
Mhm.
coriander, cumin, chili powder, granulated onion, just what your, normal chili stuff. It's a lot of pantry staples. And then it has the vegan chorizo. I get mine at Trader Joe's, but
Right.
lots of places have them. And Trader Joe's, it wins their it's won their best product of the year so many times that they've said, enough. That's grandfathered in. We realize that you can't vote on it anymore
Yeah.
because everybody always votes on it. So that speaks well of the
Yeah.
vegan chorizo, that it's just like universally loved.
Yeah, it's winning. When my husband and I first started dating, 12 years ago. He was not vegan. He is now. But I would get that chorizo and he was obsessed with it. We'd put it on
Yeah.
everything, pasta, pizzas, everything. It was so good. Speaking of pasta, I do want to mention this basil pesto pasta with roasted chickpeas. Can you tell us more about that? It's in your main courses chapter.
Yeah. So with pesto, um, I really like to use a little bit of white miso paste in
Mm-hmm.
pesto, and so that's in this. And the first time I ever bought miso paste, I thought, "Am I going to use this? This is like $9." And how many times am I making miso soup? But I use it on miso soup the least. It's like so great in vegan cheeses and spreads and pesto, and like it's a must for that. It's a little bit of salt, it's a little bit of umami.
Mm-hmm.
So that plus nutritional yeast takes over where Parmesan would typically go in
Yep.
a pesto. And of course, if you wanted to throw in vegan Parmesan, go for it.
Go for it.
And then, yeah, basil, garlic, and then you can either roast chickpeas in the oven or you can roast them in the air fryer. That's what I usually
Mm-hmm.
do nowadays, just because it's faster.
Yeah.
And then while the pasta is boiling, if you have one of those steamer pots that goes on top, like in an insert, you can just throw the broccoli into the insert while the pasta is boiling. It steams simultaneously, so you don't have to load up anything else. And drain it, toss it, you're good to go.
That's great. We got kitchen hacks, less dishes for everything there. That's so good. It's so funny you say that about miso. When I wrote my first book, I love miso for all the same. Like I rarely use it in miso soup. I'm using it in everything else. And when I started writing it, I was like, I want to try not to use miso as much as I do because I was traveling at the time, and still this is the problem in grocery stores. Like it's either hiding somewhere or you can't find it at all. Or there are stores that have it. Like Whole Foods always has it. I can always find it at Whole Foods, but obviously not everyone has access to that, right? So I was
Right.
trying to right. And now what I've done is if I use it, I'll do like a substitution for it or something because I love it so much that I'm like, I can't not let somebody in on the glory and wonder of this if they haven't used it this way yet. So like, let me give an alternative option because just like you're saying, it's like, I had the same thought. I'm like, will I use this? And now if I ever don't have it sitting in my fridge, I kind of panic.
Yeah.
I'm like, but what about when I need it? Where's the miso? I need to make sure that I have it here, So
And you expect it to be there. Like, of course
yes.
it's going to be
Yeah.
there.
I mean, there have been times when I'm like, oh, I don't know when I'll get to the store again. I get like 2 containers just in case. And like, they'll sit there for a while, but then eventually like I get through them, I get to the end of them and then there's panic again. So I feel the same love for miso
Yeah,
that you
I'm
do
that
for
way with
sure.
nutritional yeast too. I don't want to run out of nutritional yeast. I need nutritional yeast.
Yeah, it's been hard. We moved into a smaller place and like I don't have a pantry like I had in my last home, so I've got to be very mindful and very cautious about what I'm like keeping on backup. But as a developer, it's like sometimes you've got to have some stuff that's in backup that you go through regularly. So I'm figuring the space out slowly but surely. I'll get there.
I
Uh
believe in you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Our next section here is kid and dorm friendly dishes, which I love. You're making sure that you're taking care of everyone in this book because I've taught cooking classes before. It was a couple ones I had a few months ago. And this kid came up to me and he's like, I'm going to college. What do I do? And I was like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk through this. So, what's advice from you for someone? First of all, let's talk about a dorm friendly situation. What are some tips you might give for someone who's living the dorm life?
Well, I think if you can have your own refrigerator, that would be
Mhm.
ideal, like of your own mini fridge, because if you're really planning on cooking for yourself and vegetables take up space, you might need a little more space than that. And anything you can get for yourself with like a microwave, um, if a dorm allowed it, an air fryer, although I don't know that they would,
Right.
a food processor is handy, but not essential. You could get by with a knife. But, um, you know, I think it does take a little bit of time to figure out cooking for yourself if you
Yeah.
haven't been, but you can get crafty.
Yeah, for sure. What's a recipe in here for someone in a dorm that you would recommend?
So,
I mean,
I
all of
haven't.
them, obviously, but what's a
Right.
favorite?
Yeah. Any of them can be. But I think the chicken free salad sandwich is really good. It's
Okay.
made with a base of seitan or like just, like the kind of tofurkey chicken that you might see in chunks. And then you chop that up with dill pickle, celery, diced onions, some vegan mayo, and then some like chicken adjacent, like chickeny spices like
Yeah.
thyme and dill, granulated onion and pepper. If you had a food processor, you could break it up with that. But if you don't, a knife also works.
Yep.
And then that's a tasty little snack with crackers, or you can put it in a wrap, or you can eat it on a bun. But it does dual purpose in that you can be like a full meal, or if you're
Mhm.
just like, oh my gosh, I'm really hungry and I need something right now, it's very satiating.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, and I feel like that's always the thing for kids in dorms. They're on the run. What is, if you've got it ready and it's at the ready, you can grab it and it's good to go. And this is kid and dorm friendly dishes here. So let's let everyone know what else is in here. We got pizza bagels for the win, everybody. Tortilla pinwheels, happy pigs in a blanket, eggless egg salad wrap, dressed up ramen noodles. Gotta have those ramen noodles for the college kids, old school chef salad, and hummus bagel sandwich. And I love something like a hummus bagel sandwich because those are things that I think of when, you think of like back in the day before the impossible of it all, before the beyond of it all. You'd go into like a coffee shop and there'd be like this sad little hummus sandwich. And now I'm like, well, let's celebrate where this all came from because now you can make it on your own and you can make this delicious hummus sandwich. It doesn't have to be sad, it can be full of different things and flavorful and yummy. So I love it when books have items like that in it because really they should be celebrated and they're the easiest things to make.
Yeah. The first time I ever tried hummus was in college. And I think for a lot of kids, if they grew up just eating whatever their parents did and their parents weren't especially
Yeah.
adventurous, then they go to college and they're like, oh my gosh, there are all of these types of cuisines that I have never been introduced to before that I get to try. And yeah, I remember my friend being like, you want to try my hummus? And I'm like, I don't know. What is this
Yeah,
thing?
what is that? Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
it was
yeah.
great. And
Yep.
so it's nice that like if you want to make it yourself, like hummus yourself from scratch, that's super. But if not, so many places have
Yeah, you
prepared
don't have
hummus,
to,
and
right?
that's good too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
I originally had the hummus sandwich on my blog, and it was one of those where I'm like, should I even bother with this? But then it did really well.
I was gonna
Then
say it's
people
probably one
search
of the
for it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, people love it. They come back, they like it. And I've had so many things like that. Like I have an air fried potato peels recipe. And when I put it up, I'm like, I don't know. This
Yep.
seems, you can't take a good looking picture of an air fried potato peel.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
it does so well, especially around the holidays. So you just never know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I've decided I never really know what people are going to like.
Yeah. No, you really
Every
don't.
every post or every book written, I'm always like, ooh, this one's gonna be a popular one, and then like one that I completely forget about posting or have published up, people start posting over and over, and I'm like, wait, what? Oh, okay, okay. And then I'm like, well,
Right.
I mean, that's great, I love it too, but I just had no idea, I'd even forgotten about it.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
that's great.
I know it. I kind of want to have like a campaign sometimes for the ones that I really love. Like, no, I mean, that's great and all, but come on, man, you're missing
Yeah,
out.
you're missing out. You're missing out. This one's the best. We'll have to do like there needs to be like a blogger roundup of recipes where bloggers are like recipes that need a second chance, ones that we can look at the analytics and be like, this didn't do as well as it should have, and we all need to like band together and do a roundup
Yeah.
of it. That's great. Okay, so our next one is side dishes, dressings, and toppings. I love a chapter like this because usually authors are pulling stuff into these chapters that are dressings and sauces that they actually keep on hand or something that they created at one point that just like wowed the crowd and really made people happy. So in here we've got sesame sugar snap peas, sauteed kale with garlic, grilled vegetable skewers, Mediterranean couscous salad, pasta salad with creamy dressing, easy tahini dressing, balsamic vinaigrette, vegan ranch dressing, roasted chickpeas, and cashew parmesan. Now listen, out of these, what's something that you have on a regular rotation potentially from this chapter or from this
Oh,
section?
I have most of these
Yeah.
in a regular rotation. The things that I put in the book, because there's just 38 recipes in this book, and the book is very largely aimed at people who are trying it for the first time. So I want it to be stuff that's very easy, very approachable, and things that like I think of as staples that here, like this isn't complicated. This is stuff that you can just go to fast. So but I would say like I feel sad if I don't have the Parmesan cheese in my refrigerator. Like, oh, I've made pasta, and like, I could just put a little nooch on at the end. I could whatever, but I want the cashew Parmesan it's with raw cashews, nutritional yeast, and then a bunch of Italian inspired ingredients like spices. And it adds an extra little pop at the end. So
Yeah.
I feel bummed if I don't have that. Roasted chickpeas I have multiple times a week as
Mhm,
like a
mhm.
snack. It's great on salads. It's great on pasta. My husband makes his go-to dressing is the easy tahini dressing, and so
Mm.
he always has a batch of that, and I always have a batch of the ranch. So
Yep.
we'll find you like we'll unite over the salad and then go our own separate
Yeah,
ways.
yeah, 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 yeah. Go your own road. What Parmesan cheese did you grow up having in your refrigerator?
It was just the Kraft
Like the
like
sprinkled,
sprinkle.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what this cashew is reminiscent of, I would
Yes.
imagine, right?
Yeah.
Because the vegan world has expanded so much, and there's like 4 or 5 different brands of vegan Parmesan cheese, which is fantastic. That's great.
Hmm.
But I have found, same as you, I think you and I would cook well together, because in my fridge, more often than not, I've got a variation of this same sort of parm, because it's got that texture that I remember as a
Right.
kid from like the Kraft Parmesan I mean, let's say Parmesan in air quotes. I can't imagine there was
Yeah.
much that was, that shelf stable cheese. I don't know what was real in there ultimately, but it has that same texture, the sprinkle of it, as opposed to like the shreds or anything like that,
Yeah, and
So
like
I
the
really love it.
Violife kind that you can grate yourself, it's very
Mm.
impressive. It's very good. But I don't get through it as fast as
Yeah.
the kind that like, oh, it has tons of flavor in it. And
Yeah.
because you're putting it on top of everything, like really pops.
Yeah, yeah. I have found that Violife one is really great when I want to, like, if I have dinner guest and I'm doing like a pasta dish and I want to be like, ooh, let's
Right.
like shave that Parmesan over the top.
Yeah.
Um, but that's calling it the sprinkle kind. Now I need to write one and just call it sprinkle parm. Um, but that kind is reminiscent to me, like if I did like just like a butter pasta with Parmesan as a kid, like,
Yes.
that's what that makes me think of, and I'm like, "Oh, I just want that then?"
Right.
So, that's great, I love that you have that in here, and so many good things. I'll have to try this ranch dressing because I love trying different vegan ranch dressings. Moves us into my favorite place on the planet, which is the dessert section. So we've got chocolate banana and ice cream here, strawberry crispy rice treats, puffy banana bread cookies, and a wacky cake with chocolate frosting. Tell me about the strawberry crispy rice treats, please.
So, it's super easy recipe. You make it just like you would make non-vegan Rice Krispie treats, but you use vegan marshmallows, obviously, because that's like the big difference. And then non-dairy butter instead of dairy butter. And then to get for the strawberry aspect, you get freeze dried strawberries. They have them at the grocery
Mm.
store in just little shelf stable packages, and the only ingredient on them is strawberries. And grind those in a food processor, or you could use a spice grinder until it becomes a dust. If you didn't have that, you could even just break it in small pieces. You'll just have bigger chunks of dried strawberries. So you break those up and add it to your Rice Krispie mix, put them out, spread it out into your baking dish that you've greased, and that's it. Wait for it to solidify.
And that's it. Well, what about the wacky cake with chocolate frosting?
So, this recipe, the wacky cake with chocolate frosting, is the chocolate cake that I grew up eating. It's a Depression era recipe
Mhm.
when it was eggs and dairy were hard to come by. And but my mom, that's what she would go to for like all of our birthday cakes. And so if she wanted it to be a chocolate one, then she would put cocoa powder in it. And if she wanted
Mhm.
it to be vanilla, then she'd leave the cocoa powder out. And then the frosting, same. You can either have cocoa in or leave the cocoa out. And now you just have like a buttercream frosting. And so, yeah, we weren't a vegan family, but that was the recipe that I grew up eating. So it seemed like a no brainer for the book to have a recipe that, again, isn't intimidating to people because they have all of these ingredients already in their and in their
Yeah.
kitchen cabinets. It's just flour, sugar, cocoa powder, baking soda, salt, water, oil, vinegar, vanilla extract, and then you got your frosting at the end. So like all very basic stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is incredibly approachable, which this day and age, I think with cakes, I don't know, baking goods in general sometimes. I look at some recipes and I'm like, this is a little out of hand. What's happening here? Like, I think in some cases it's necessary. People are getting very creative and I love it. But like, if you just want to make a cake, a
Right.
delicious cake, like this is it. This is all you got to do. It's here for you and it's going to be delicious, moist, crumbly, all the good things and a little bit of frosting on there. Like you can't go wrong. I'm a big fan of cake. So I love an easy one. So I'm glad you had this in here. And that wraps up the recipes of the book, but we're moving into section 5 that comes after the recipes here, and it's vegan in the outside world, ethics behind veganism, embracing veganism beyond food, dining out, vegan on the road and in the air, and navigating tricky social situations. So this might be to me one of the most important chapters of the book, because we start with food. um, it's a necessary item, right? We're talking about food. It's a necessary item. We need it to survive, but being vegan encompasses everything when you get into it. So for someone who's listening and learning about veganism for the first time, when you talk about embracing veganism beyond the food, what do you cover in the book?
So I covered the why basically in this section of the book. So in the beginning, there's all of the how, and this is all the why. And I think for someone to really go the distance with veganism, having a passion is imperative. And that's really what keeps someone vegan, where you're like, this is no longer an option for me. And so this talks about the things that really make you say, I've got to do this for the rest of my life because I don't want to contribute to animal cruelty. I don't want to pay for this. I don't want to support this anymore. So it explains like kind of behind the veil of the things that in our world people try very hard not to think about and try to sort of obfuscate. So there's sections on each animal and the situations that they are in, and then there's the stuff with clothing,
Mm-hmm.
household goods. That there's really so much more even than food of wow, okay, now I'd have to think about my shampoo and what I'm looking for in that and the soap that I buy and the leather pants and wool sweater. Like you
Yeah.
don't you
Yeah.
think when you think about label reading, you're thinking
Right.
about, oh, I've got to look at this container of dressing and not so much like, no, I've also got to look at this hat that I wanted to buy and it's winter and
Yep.
oh, it has 2% wool in it. Okay.
Yep.
And so what to look for, what to buy instead, um, and things like that. And then after that, I think the hardest part of being vegan, like people think it's going to be, what do I make for dinner? But I don't think that's true. I think it's really much more how do you exist in this non vegan world as a vegan person
Mm-hmm.
and interacting with people who may not be super excited about your life style and like what you've chosen, may take it as a personal offense. How you coexist with people online and in real life. And uh, then also how you keep your social life. Like, how do you keep finding
Yeah.
restaurants that you can eat in and traveling places and keeping your world expansive while staying true to your own values?
Mhm, mhm. Oh, I'm so glad you covered that, and it sounds like you cover it in a way that's, very, I don't know, just open for everyone to maybe take it at I d I wanna explain to everyone too, that at least as far as I can tell, and Katja, you tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth here, but you're not telling everyone they got if you are just figuring this out and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have this vegan jacket that my grandmother's or my great-grandfather, whoever's, and I can't part with it," or I've had these leather shoes, these leather boots. I don't know, I'm using leather as the only example, but you get what I'm saying, like,
Right.
you're not telling them they have to throw them out right now. Like
No,
just start being aware. Like start you're giving them the things to start thinking about ultimately. And then everything kind of goes, I mean, at your own pace. I just want to clarify for everyone, we're not being the vegan police. This is more just a tool for you to help to start understanding the different aspects of it, right?
absolutely. And I feel like the things that you already own, you already own.
Mhm.
So the harm has already been done on those things. So if you got rid of a silk shirt because you don't feel comfortable in that silk shirt, well, that's totally valid. But animals aren't hurt any to a greater degree because of
Right.
the silk shirt you already own. Like, don't go
That you
buy
yeah, yeah.
another one, but
Right,
the
right,
one
don't
that you
support it.
have is already like, it is what it is. And so I don't think it's possible for many people to go through and get rid of every
Right,
single item they own and replace it with
right.
a whole bunch of other stuff. But once you know more and feel inclined to do more,
Yeah.
then as you're making future purchases, then you can choose differently.
Yeah, then you have the information to make those choices. That's great, and so important to have in this book, I think. And I you said something interesting about it, I don't when people. I mean, it just blows my mind this day to this day still when you're talking to somebody and they're like, you can tell it's like they understand completely, but then they turn it off. They're like, I don't want to think about it.
Right.
And I guess I'm just and not to get all deep, but like, what do you think that is? What was it for us? I used to be that person, right? You know what I mean? So what is it for us when we decide to just be like, yeah, that's terrible and that's bothersome, but I'm not going to think about it, because people just decide not to think about it.
Right. I think some of it is self-preservation, that like you want to keep doing the things you're doing and living the way that you're living,
Uh huh.
and those things are comfortable and cozy and familiar. Um, and I think also, like with anytime you hear about something horrible, there's only so much that one body can take. And you're like, I can't do everything. I've
Yeah.
reached my limit on doing things.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing that I like about being vegan is like you have a chance every day and every action you make and every action
Hmm.
you take to do something positive. And that feels really empowering, that like
Yeah.
you can choose these foods instead of these foods on a menu.
Yep.
And now you have chosen things that are life giving instead of life
Yep.
taking. And that feels really
Mm.
good.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Well, in this, you also talk about something that I think even longtime vegans can struggle with from time to time, including myself. I started out this whole crazy trip I've had in food with a vegan travel culinary series, and still to this day, I'll be preparing for a trip. I'll be running short on time, and I end up at the airport a little pissed off because I didn't plan ahead. So, what are tips you have for being vegan on the road and also especially in the air?
Well, number one, I think when you do pack food, which I would recommend, but when you do, bring a fork. Because I've ended up on planes before and they do not have forks all the time.
Yeah.
Like unless they
Yeah.
have a dinner service, they very likely do not have forks.
So
And
I'm
it's
gonna tell you what I did. I ended up getting myself like a silverware set that I just keep in my backpack. I
that's
get through
smart.
TSA with it and everything. So, but please continue.
Yes.
What are some other things? God,
So
that's
bring
very
a
good
fork.
advice.
Yeah, you don't want to be drinking your salad. That's just
Eating
sad.
your oatmeal,
Yeah,
scooping,
by
trying to drink
hand.
it out of the cup, shake it out of the cup. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And then the other, I would say, because of TSA requirements, spread your spread. So you can't bring a little container of mayo. You
Ah.
can't bring a container of guac. But if you want to put mayo on your sandwich, vegan mayo, obviously, if you want to put guacamole on your whatever, like spread your spread.
Very smart.
Yeah.
I love that. That's very smart. And listen, she said vegan mayo, everyone. There's a review on my first book that gets me to this day that says he uses mayonnaise in this book. And it
So
says vegan
obnoxious.
mayonnaise, and it's a 1-star review. And I'm so annoyed. I don't reviews do not bother me at all, but this one, he's like, it's not a vegan book. He uses mayonnaise, and I'm like, it says vegan mayonnaise in it. So,
Right.
anyways, everyone, she means vegan mayonnaise. She
Yeah.
said it loud
I
and
don't
clear.
know how people don't know things exist. Like if you know that exists, then probably assume that.
Also, that now this has made me need to clarify in every situation, even though we've had a
Yes.
completely vegan conversation, that I'm like, she said vegan mayonnaise, everybody, okay? So I don't want to see it in the comments. She said vegan mayonnaise. Spread your
Yeah,
spread.
it's a
Very
no-win
smart.
situation.
Yeah, yeah. Spread your spread, very smart. So you always got your snack on the plane. Take yourself some silverware so you can always eat your food. Good stuff. So part 6 is veganism in all walks of life, covering a range of topics from healthy vegan pregnancy and postpartum, raising vegan babies, vegan diets for kids and teens, exploring veganism as a young adult, being a vegan athlete, and vegan after 40. So listen, I'm 43. I'd never really thought about being vegan after 40, and you cover a range in here from quality of life during the years we have left, examining nutritional needs, strengthening bones, getting B12, consuming enough protein, eating the right fats, keeping iron in check, managing menopause, improving cardiovascular health, and easing digestion. So this might seem overwhelming to people, but my sense is that being on a vegan diet actually shortens the list in terms of items we have to worry about, which is the magical part, right? So I'm 43 and I'd never really thought about being vegan after 40. And you cover a range of great things in here that just got me thinking so much. You talk about things in here about quality of life in the years that we have left, examining nutritional needs, strengthening bones, getting B12, consuming enough protein, eating the right fats, keeping iron in check, managing menopause, and improving cardiovascular health and easing digestion. And it seems overwhelming when you look at all of that stuff, but the fact of the matter is that this list is a list of things that help us not worry about this list of things. Ultimately, you're talking about how the vegan diet is helpful in this arena, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many concerns that people have
Yeah.
coming up on this stage of life that studies are showing again and again that having plant foods is protective and healthful going forward, that it strengthens your bones by eating plant-rich foods and not eating animal foods, choosing the right fats, keeping your iron in check, and
Mm-hmm.
how it can improve your cardiovascular health, which can be such an issue for people as they get older, helping to manage menopause symptoms that eating there's a lot of like fear mongering around soy foods, but
Mm-hmm.
again and again soy foods have been
Yeah.
shown to being protective against
Yep.
that, and help people not have hot flashes or have fewer hot flashes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's just so much with plant foods that it ends up really helping you
Right.
as you go forward in life.
Yes. So everybody, when you see the list, it's you should not be scared. You should be excited because it's talking about how plant foods help you with all of these things in life, which is wonderful. For me, it's really when I saw easing digestion at the end of the list, I was like, gosh, my digestion has gotten so much better in the last really over the last 10 years, but even the last 5 years considerably because as I get older, I just make better food choices, period. We
Yeah.
start to see our body make changes. And so you're like, oh, I need to maybe not eat so much of that. And now this, and I made a lot of bad choices when I was a lot younger. So now that I'm making better choices, I really do see the difference. So I can understand the value of that, especially as we get older. Now, in this last section, and maybe my favorite is called the part of tens, and this is covered in 10 easy vegan meals anyone can make. So, when we're looking at 10 easy vegan meals anyone can make, I'm opening it up to that now. So, I'm seeing what we're looking at. Oh, yeah. Cooking with pasta with ease. We've got in here enjoying a variety of tacos. Now, do you list taco pizza on here? Is my question, Cadry.
I
No,
may
because you've got a
not
pizza
right there.
section. Because then we've got preparing crowd pleasing pizzas in here. And this is great. You're just giving the basics on making some very essential things that people make on the daily. So this
Right.
is really great.
Yeah, I think that it's important as people take on a new diet to not always feel like you have to look at a cookbook or a blog, that
Mhm.
you don't want every single night when you're like, I'm hungry and now let me quickly do some research. And so if you just look at the dishes that you already make, but make a couple of substitutions, it takes the same amount of time or less because cooking plants often takes less time. Like if you throw
Yeah.
beans in, it's going to take less time than ground beef.
Yeah.
Um, and so you don't have to look at a recipe. Do the things that you've always done, but with a couple of simple swaps.
Yeah, and you're giving I love to tell people learn the rules. learn a couple recipes, then break the rules and start going your own road. What's cool in here is that you're giving that same sort of setup, in that you're giving some fundamentals for everything. So everybody can start to learn what some fundamentals and basics are of this, for tacos, pizza, pasta, cleaning out the fridge with soup. I love this. I do this on a Sunday. I'll pull all the produce out of my fridge and just make a soup with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so great. And sometimes you end up with the most delicious soup. You're like, wait, I don't know what I did, but it was great. How do I do
Right.
this again? We've got throwing simple sandwiches together, spicing things up with chili. This is so good. And really, chili's a great cost-effective option for people and so easy to make. It really is a good one to make. Making colorful stir fries. I love stir fries because we have such a variety in here. So you're giving people all the variations they can make in here. Creating mouthwatering wraps, fixing meal-worthy salads. What's your favorite kind of salad to have? If you were to build a must-have salad for yourself right now, what would it be?
I like romaine as a base a lot because it has good crunch, but
Mhm.
you can still taste the flavor of a dressing with it too.
Yeah.
Um, and then roasted chickpeas
Yeah.
for that protein and crunch and texture. Carrots, celery, some sugar snap peas are really nice.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I usually I have ranch dressing around my blog. I have an onion dressing that is also one of my go-tos, where you use onion salt as the main base of the seasoning. And some garlic bread on the side. And
Yes,
a
please.
salad is so much more fun if you have a garlic bread on the side.
Absolutely. I need to go scrounging through your blog too. It sounds like, would you sprinkle some cashew parmesan on top of it is my question for you.
Definitely. Definitely.
Absolutely. Of course, of course. So we've got the fixing meal-worthy salad. She just gave you a great option right there. And feasting on vibrant rice bowls to end out that section here. And then we have 10 ways to create a satisfying vegan lifestyle. Now, this focuses in on making your veganism a powerful, productive, and satisfying lifestyle by growing community, deepening your understanding, and living your values. So you say in the book, when you become a curious, lifelong learner, you explore, there's always a new facet of veganism to explore. So I couldn't agree more with that. It seems over time, how long have you been vegan? When did you go vegan?
17 years.
Yeah. So have you just found really I just found it keeps growing. Like you just keep going, oh, wait, that, oh, this, oh, that too. And,
Right.
and for me, it's a positive way. I'm like, oh, it's the more you know of it, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
I was listening to an old podcast of yours today, and you said that things are hard until they're easy. And it's so true with veganism that it starts and it's hard, and then it's not hard at all. You don't have to think about it at all. Everything just comes super easy. And yeah, so like you don't even think about, oh, yeah, I used to do it like this.
Sure.
Like this used to be an animal thing. Like you, that's not your base of operations anymore. And yeah,
Yeah.
new products keep coming up where I couldn't try them all now. There's no way I will ever try every
There's
vegan
no
chicken
way.
strip on the market, every ice cream, every
And it
dressing.
used to just be, so 17 years ago, if we talk about a chicken strip, what'd you have? Did Morningstar, was the Morningstar one even vegan? Is it now vegan? Like what was a vegan chicken strip back then even? I'm trying to think. For
Oh,
me, it's
I
been like
don't
15
know.
years. So like what would it have even
I
been,
know
right?
they had the Morningstar ribs back then,
Yep.
but
But you're right.
I
It's like there's so many now. Like
yeah,
where do you even,
yeah, you'll
it's
never try
wild.
them all. But that's a great problem to have. And that
Right.
when I went vegan, I lived in LA at the time, and you'd go to Whole Foods and you know, specialty markets that could be more
Yep.
expensive. And now there are whole sections of Walmart that are all just vegan stuff. And again, like I said, I live in middle of nowhere, Iowa,
Yeah.
and a whole big section of vegan stuff. Like I never would have imagined that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
it's wonderful.
what was your first, it sounds like we went vegan around the same time, ish, like within a few years. What was your first experience with vegan cheese? Do you remember?
It would have been the old Follow Your Heart has reformulated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was before they reformulated.
Yep.
And it was just a waxy block.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
bought it And I thought, I think that I'll just stick with avocado. I think
Yep.
avocado is going to be fine,
Yep.
and I will not have vegan cheese. And then there was one called, I think Dr. Cow. Like after
Yes.
a little bit
Yes.
after that, then some specialty ones came out, and they were very expensive, and they were
Mhm.
tasty, but nut cheeses at that time were like
Yeah.
very, very expensive.
Very
Um,
expensive.
but yeah, that first follow your heart, I'm like, I don't. I just
No.
think I won't be doing this.
Do you remember what you made with it? What you tried
I
to
think
make?
I tried to make a pizza, and
Yep.
it didn't
Yeah.
really melt, and it didn't add anything good.
Yeah, I really went in and I had to search for it forever. I remember I lived in New York at the time. I went all around and I ended up at a health store in Brooklyn, and I didn't even live in Brooklyn at the time. And I got day of cheese from somewhere. So excited, took
Right.
it home, was so excited, and I made cheese enchiladas. And I was like, oh, like I'm never touching this stuff ever again. And I was also using it like dairy cheese. Like, growing up, I grew up in the Midwest. Like put lots of cheese. It's just lots
Right.
of cheese. So like I stuffed these cheese enchiladas full of cheese, and I was like, wow, this was the biggest mistake I ever made in my entire life. But that formula's changed. And also
Yeah.
I think as you work with vegan cheese on different things more, you learn how to use it a certain way. And you can use those specific shreds now. First of all, they've improved, but you can even if you're working on it and you're doing your thing and you use it, enough, you can start to use it in certain ways where it's just like so good. Like if you use
Right.
the right amount. So
Yeah, I remember when Daya came out and there was a pizza place that had it in LA, and I was so excited, and we had to go, and like all of us went to the pizza place, and it was okay.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, they've reformulated since, and now there's some truly excellent vegan cheeses.
Yes, yes, true. I mean, now again, so many, right? So many that
Yeah,
you're like, I see some new ones all the time and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't even have it in me to try this. I'm like, I'm sure it's
right.
great. I just. Well, when you're talking about satisfying ways to create a satisfying vegan lifestyle, you also get into some insights on attending Veg Fest, making new vegan friends online or in person, visiting or supporting a sanctuary, watching vegan documentaries, asking your library to carry vegan books. I might even add to everyone, if your library accepts donations and you run into a vegan book you love and you no longer need it, maybe see if they'll take it as a donation or buy them a copy of it if you want to keep your own. And I love in here you mentioned going to the library specifically to like test drive a vegan cookbook to see if you like it before you buy it. But because I've so many people listen to this podcast and they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to, the book sounds amazing, but I have so many already and I don't know if I want to invest in that if I'll use it all the time. And I think that's great advice. Go to the
Yeah,
library.
I think it's good. Do a test drive because you don't know. It's not nothing against the book if it just didn't
Yeah.
appeal to you. And so
Yeah.
you can really, or sometimes books are really pretty, but that just because you enjoy it in like a coffee table kind of situation doesn't mean you're going to be cooking from it all the time. So
Right.
just give it a chance. Take it
Yeah.
home, use it a couple weeks, bring it
See
back.
see if it calls you to it, like the book in Hocus Pocus. Are you called to the book? Well, you also give a glimpse into taking vegan cooking classes, trying a new vegan recipe once a week, seeking vegan options when you travel, taking care of yourself, and you talk about requesting more vegan options at local restaurants and grocery stores, which I think can be such an impactful form of activism that people don't quite grasp the importance of. So, can you touch on this as we wrap up your journey here through living vegan for dummies?
Well, if there is a restaurant that you like, you've heard good things about, I think it's really good to contact them on social media, just slip into their DMs and ask if they have vegan options or if there are things that you notice that you think could be made vegan. Oh, hey, is this vegan if I remove ABC? And just letting them know that there is a market for this because if they don't know that there's a market, they don't realize the consumers that they're missing out on,
Mhm.
and that the vegans often end up being the deciding vote. So if there is a restaurant that doesn't have vegan options, they didn't just miss out on me going, they missed out on my whole party going
Yeah.
because, well, I'm not going to go somewhere that isn't going to have anything good for me.
Yep.
So our whole group left. So, yeah. So if you go and you ask, and then if they have something and something's great, then talk them up on social media and say, I went to tag this restaurant and they were great and they made this pizza. And then a whole bunch of vegans go. And then hopefully
Yeah.
when they see, oh, wow, there are a whole bunch of people that want this, let's put more of this on the menu because there is a market for this.
Yes, that's very good. Also, such good advice in that arena, letting people know so that it starts to happen. And it might, I always tell people too, like, don't get discouraged. Like, if you don't see something happen right away, there's always some value in kindness and persistence, following up a few months later and just being like, hey, have you thought about this anymore? Like, we wanted to come again, but like, we weren't able to. So I was curious if you were considering adding it, like, there's ways to be kind about it and still follow up. I think kindness is always the key in those situations. People get worked up so easily. It's like be
Absolutely.
kind.
And it's so hard to read tone through
Mhm.
text. And so
Mhm.
people are mean on the internet. And so it's easy for
Yeah.
people to assume, oh, if you ask this, you're asking in a mean way. But if you can, like anything, lead with a compliment. I've
Yeah.
heard really good things. Everybody's
Yes.
raving about X. I don't want to miss out on X. Have you thought about having it like this? Could it be possible like that?
That's wonderful. So, and then end with some heart emojis.
Yes, heart a smiley face emoji goes
Yes.
a long ways.
Yes, yes. Well, that is Living Vegan for Dummies. Cadry, when it comes to this book, what is your book brag? Something you are most proud of when it comes to the book?
Well, the thing that I'm most proud about with the book is really the section on social aspects around being vegan. I think that that can be what keeps people from going vegan if they're like, what if people reject me? What if my family's mean to me? What if people give me a hard time? What if my coworkers are rude? Um, what if I'm left out of parties because they don't want to have a vegan option there? And, in a way, all of us are still 10-year-olds who don't want to be made fun of. And it can be really hard to stand out and do something different and be separate, especially in a world that says that we like people to do different things, but then really kind of wants everyone to conform and is like takes it personally when people don't conform. And so I think that really can be the trickiest part of being vegan is um, being comfortable with who you are and being comfortable to ask for what you need. And women
Mhm.
especially are taught to like be agreeable
Mhm.
and don't raise a fuss. And if you go to a restaurant, you don't want to put anyone out. Or if you go to someone else's home and they're cooking, you don't want to put anyone out. But we make ourselves vulnerable in both good ways and bad. But in the good way of making yourself vulnerable is then people know who you are and they like really know what your heart is and how they can help you. And when they do those things, it makes you feel really good. And you feel like, oh, wow, you supported me and you made sure I had something there that I could eat when I came to your house. And maybe you made something special that I like. And so it gives people an opportunity to serve you in a new way and to connect with you over something that you care about.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a great book brag too. You're helping people find that way, and I love the way you wrap that up too. It's being your authentic self so that
Mhm.
people can feel that connection with you, and then we can all listen to each other and collaborate and help each other really ultimately. I love
Yeah,
that. Well, are you ready for your rapid fire round of questions?
I am ready.
Here we go. I think I know what the first answer is, but we're going to throw it out there and we'll see. Okay. So, what's your perfect breakfast? Not the most healthy, but if you could wake up tomorrow and have it appear, what's your perfect breakfast?
Mm. I really like a good breakfast sandwich.
There
If
we go.
I am somewhere and they will do like a biscuit breakfast, ooh, ooh, okay, that's really good. But actually, I'm switching chilaquiles.
Oh, there. Nice.
Yeah, I'd
That's a
rather
good
have
choice.
chilaquiles, but second choice will be the
Yep.
breakfast biscuit
That's a
sandwich.
good choice. Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever stayed in a loft hotel?
No,
They've got a breakfast sandwich, a vegan breakfast sandwich on their menu.
really?
That literally we've booked their hotel just because we're like, oh, we know we can have the vegan breakfast sandwich in the morning. And then we stayed at one and the kitchen didn't open for some reason. They were understaffed or something. And we were so disappointed. We stayed there one
Mm.
night and we were like, no, but the vegan breakfast sandwich.
This was the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah,
that's all right. It's all
that's
right.
sad.
All right. Moving on here. What's your favorite pasta shape?
Pappardelle. I really
Yeah,
like a big fat noodle.
same. Same. If you could be an animal, what would you be and why?
Well, I would be a cat, because you get to live your life in your own terms and people love you for it. And
100%.
yeah, so you can just like, I'm just gonna sleep. And people are like, oh my God, look at
Yep.
them
Yep.
sleeping.
I'm
And
gonna
then you can lay in the sunny spot. Like they've really got it figured out. It's all of the good stuff.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
all
gonna
about
knock
like,
this stuff all over and everyone's gonna think I'm amazing and they're gonna say
exactly.
sorry to me. Yeah. Who was that cute, sweet little angel that was just
That
on
was
your lap?
Avon.
Avon. Is
Yeah.
that your only cat or do you have more?
Two cats, Avon and Callie.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
And
I
we
love
call
it.
Callie DJ Callie.
Hey, DJ Khaled got their shout out then. I love it. Okay, where are we at here? We're on number 4. If you could cook for a dead celebrity, who would it be?
Huh. Oh, I would cook for Mr. Rogers. He was
Very
a
nice.
vegetarian, and so he would be very happy for my food. And I have always loved him. And I sent him a letter when I was a little kid, and he
Oh,
sent me a letter back and an autographed
oh,
picture. And I really would have loved to have met him. So yeah, if I could make him dinner, that would be pretty awesome.
that's such a good one. Favorite quick food item to make when you need a meal fast?
I usually make tacos when I want
Mhm.
something that's very fast. I mean, it's, I could make a tofurkey sandwich if I had to be like
Sure,
lightning fast.
sure.
But let's say I have 15 minutes,
Yep.
then tacos would be the
Yeah,
way I'd go.
love that. Barbecue sauce or hot sauce?
Hot sauce.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Mhm. You and I. Last show you binged watched?
Oh. Oh, well, we're doing a rewatch right now. So it's not really
Mhm.
binging, but we're doing a
Okay.
rewatch of 30 Rock.
Oh, very good. Oh,
Yeah, we
that's
like to
great.
do it around election time because it's
Ah,
so cozy
yeah,
and familiar, and I just feel like,
agreed.
oh, it's like the fuzzy blanket of television.
Yeah, you need a yes, absolutely, I get that. We watched the debate the other night. My husband was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Can we please watch something funny now? Can we please?" It was like we needed to go to sleep, but I was like, "Yeah, we can definitely watch something
Yeah,
funny
we did
too."
the same thing. We watched
Uh-huh,
Jeopardy after. I'm like,
uh-huh.
gotta have something that
Yep,
isn't
yep,
charged.
something to diffuse a little bit, yep. What dish did you make last?
Let's see. I made lunch today. Oh, I made gnocchi. There's a new
Mm,
pumpkin gnocchi from Trader Joe's, and I
great,
made that browned in non-dairy butter with thyme and garlic until it got like nice
delicious.
and crispy, and then sautéed kale and red wine mushrooms.
Ah, oh, lovely. Where was I for that? Delicious. Okay, if you could pick up a certain skill instantly, what would it be?
I studied Spanish when I was
Mm,
in high school and college, but it's my Spanish is very rough. And so if I
okay.
could speak a fluent foreign language, that would
Yep.
be great.
Yeah, I get that. If you could live in any decade, which would it be?
Mm. Well, if it was just for clothes, I really like the 50s, like the
Yeah,
50s style dresses are really
cool.
fun, and accessories. But as a woman, I would not like the 50s at all. So I think
Sure.
I'll probably stay where I'm at.
Sure. There you go. Good, 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 good. You can still wear the 50s clothes right now.
Yeah, and
You
I
can just
do.
yeah, there you go. Great. Donuts or cupcakes? An easier question.
Donuts.
And your last one, shout out to the place you will drive an hour and a half to for vegan donuts.
Oh, that's Icon Donuts in Cedar Falls, Iowa.
There we go. But what are the tips you have to tell people there? I know they should. There's only certain
Oh,
days, right?
you have to go Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. They only do it
Okay.
on the weekends, and they sell out. And so we got there before 11, and I thought, oh, it's going to be no problem. And we ended up having to drive to a second location because they were already out of one of the flavors. So if you're going to make the trek, call ahead, even if you think it's not
Yeah.
necessary because it's early, and say, hey, will you set aside a dozen donuts or half dozen donuts for me? And they will.
Have you now, so in your lovingly Cadry way, have you said to Icon Donuts, "Hey, have you noticed these are selling out? Maybe have them every day?"
I really wish they would, and they used to have them 7 days a week. And then
Huh.
they just switched to the weekends. And they've said that it's a problem that sometimes they sell out and sometimes they don't. So it seems to kind of vary for them. They don't want to throw
Okay.
away donuts.
Yep.
And
Yep.
but the guy who I asked was really nice. And he was like, but if there's ever like a certain kind of donut that you want,
Yeah.
in any amount, just call ahead and tell us. And they would do
All
that. So
right.
that would be
That's
another
great.
thing to try.
There's a bakery in New York called Billy's Bakery that before I was vegan, I was obsessed with. And I waited years for them to have it's mostly cupcakes. It's got other desserts, but their big thing is like during the cupcake boom, they did all the
Mhm.
cupcakes, but we're like, never had a vegan option, never had a vegan option. Finally, like 2 years ago, I walked in on a visit there in the summer and they had a vegan option. But it was sold out. I walked in middle of the day, it was sold out. And so I came back the next day, sold out. And I was like, y'all. So then the next day I went like right when they opened and I got it, but I was just like, what is this telling you? Like maybe
Right.
just add a few more or maybe make another flavor vegan.
And
But
the donuts, they just taste like donuts.
there's it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't
You just,
like do like the place Ronald's in
yeah,
Vegas,
Vegas. Yeah.
and they just have it in the center shelf. So if you know, you
Mhm.
know, and
Yep.
otherwise they're just donuts.
Yep.
And I wish they would just do that. Like just
Yeah.
it's just a
I know.
donut.
I
Anybody will
know.
just buy a donut.
Absolutely. And anybody will just buy that sugar. Come on.
Yeah,
Very good.
it's
All right.
fried sugar.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That is your rapid fire. Well done. We ended on a bit of a donut tangent, but I'm here for it. I think every podcast episode should end with a donut tangent. So it's very
I
good.
agree.
Well, please tell everyone where they can find you on the internet and on social media.
My blog is cadryskitchen.com. That's Cadry, cadryskitchen.com. And then I'm Cadry's Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube and Pinterest.
You're getting into them threads. How's that
Yeah,
been going for you?
I like it. I
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. Yeah, the algorithm has me kind of figured out of like, oh, okay, you like childless cat lady
Yeah,
content.
yeah, yeah. I
So
love it.
that's yeah, I
I
like
need
it.
to I need to check it out a little bit more, I think. Well, listeners, if you're ready to start transitioning to a vegan way of life, or if you know someone in your life who is ready or even curious, you'll love this book's simple action plans for making the switch and making it stick with this friendly dummies guide. You've got answers to all of your questions and more. Please go get your copy of Cadry Nelson's Living Vegan for Dummies, second edition, everywhere books are sold. Cadry, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me today.
It was a treat. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. We'd be so grateful if you would rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. It really does help us.
Yes, thank you so much. And don't forget to check out keeponcookin.com for all of the latest in recipes and Keep On Cooking updates. This has been a Muzzy Cat production.